Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, I'm recording this on a Wednesday morning, and it will be going out about 1 o'clock Wednesday afternoon, which will still be, hopefully, before Jeremy Hunt gets to his feet and delivers his budget. But it is telling, I think, that the SNP are urging the Chancellor to do something. One particular thing. They're urging him to give substantial aid to Gaza. Now, I noticed that they're not urging him to give substantial aid to the people of Scotland. And indeed, they don't like it when Westminster do help the people of Scotland. We've already seen this morning how they're moaning that this 2p cut to national insurance will mean people in Scotland are better off. They don't like that. And we've also seen, of course, that they don't like it when Westminster hands money directly to councils so that they can spend it on the needs of local people rather than putting it into the hands of the SNP. They really do object to people being helped. And they keep seeing that they think that Gaza is more important than the people of Scotland. They're obsessed with Gaza. And yet the people of Scotland, I don't think, care too much. Sure, I'm sure people are thinking, well, it's terrible, it's awful, and whatever. But they've got other fish to fry. They've got their own immediate problems, and they need to be addressed. So why are the SNP obsessing over some tiny little state in the Middle East, rather than getting their own problems sorted out and helping the people who elected them and put them into positions of power? It's a very odd thing to do. But we'll take a quick look at this story. It's probably the only budget story I'm going to do today until after the budget. Obviously, there may be some comments made then, but it's just a weird state of affairs about this obsession. Here goes. So, SNP urges Chancellor Jeremy Hunt to offer substantial aid to Gaza at the budget. SNP Foreign Affairs spokesman Brenda O'Hara said that Westminster is failing the people of Gaza by not providing aid. I think the people of Gaza are actually failing the people of Gaza because they keep hiding these hostages. Perhaps if they gave the hostages back, life would return to some kind of normality. But until that happens, who knows? You don't ever negotiate with a gun at your head, do you? But what is the obsession that the SNP have over Gaza? Now, I will say that it's always been a long-held truth that the President of America often involves himself in foreign policy. And the reason is that very often presidents are quite incapable of doing too much at home because it's the Senate and the House of Congress and all that decides most things. And the president can issue instructions and things, but it is very hard to get sort of domestic policy done. And so American presidents tend to focus on foreign policy where they do have complete power. And I think that's what's happening here. And I think that the SNP are pushing this big Gaza front to try and deflect attention away from all the failures at home. They've got so many problems domestically that if they can draw your attention away to Gaza, then you'll stop looking at domestic matters. And of course, that would be the mistake. You mustn't let them do that. We must keep the focus on what's going on in Scotland and the Scottish people. They are the ones paying, after all, in so many different ways. But anyway, the SNP, well, just very quick, it's not a big piece, but it's just, it is important that we sort of address that Gaza front. But anyway, the SNP has called on the UK government to deliver a substantial package to support the people of Gaza in the budget. And again, I think it should be up to the people, not up to Parliament. If the taxpayers of the country put the money in, it should not be up to the government to say whether that money goes to others who haven't contributed. If the government wants to set up a GoFundMe, that's fine. But don't send any taxpayer money abroad. There should be no foreign aid at taxpayers' expense. If taxpayers want to pay, they can voluntarily add. It shouldn't be obligatory through tax. Anyway, the party's Foreign Affairs spokesperson, Brendan O'Hara, said that Westminster is failing the people of Gaza by not providing aid. That follows criticism of the UK government for failing to meet their international aid targets. The UK government reduced the percentage of gross national income, the total amount of money earned by a country on foreign aid, from 0.7 down to 0.5. Still 0.5 too many, I think. According to the United Nations, there was a 50% reduction in humanitarian aid entering the region in February compared with the previous month. That's because it's increasingly hard for people to give a shit. Israel's blockade means that critical items such as scalpels and oxygen tanks have been banned from entering Gaza. Well, the Gazans can sort this out immediately. They can just sort this out today, within an hour. Take all the hostages that they're still holding and hand them back. Then it stops. But until they do that, what are you going to do? If your next door neighbour kidnapped your child, are you just going to go, well, hey, come on, let's sit down and talk about it? Or are you just going to go in and get your child back? What are you going to do? You're not going to listen. Oh, look, your neighbour across the road is saying, look, all calm down. He can keep your child for a while. That's fine. We'll just negotiate. No, you kick his door down, you go in, you kill him and take your child back. End of story. If he's abusing your child, you don't let that happen while you negotiate, do you? Stupid people. Anyway, and don't forget, it's the UN we're going to see here. The UN are actually causing this because it was their organisation that these Palestinians belong to that did it. The UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, has not been able to enter northern Gaza since January the 23rd. After all, it was UNRWA that did it. Tory Chancellor Jeremy Hunt will announce his spring budget in the House of Commons today. He'll be getting up about, I think it usually gets up about 2 o'clock, doesn't he? So it's after lunch. So they go have lunch, he gets up about 2 and then talks for several hours and bores the arse off everyone with all the rubbish that people don't need to hear because it's all been pre-published in a book. We just need to know what's going up. Fags up, beer up, petrol up, taxes up. Despite what he says. Oh, look, 2p cut in national insurance. Yeah, and if you think you're paying less tax, I've got a bridge to sell you. Anyway, Brendan O'Hara's moaning on again because apparently Gaza's far, far more important than the people of Scotland. He can't be asked to deal with that. And so he's going to sit there and talk about these people who've done nothing for us that nobody else likes. Not even in the Arab world don't like them. The Arab world aren't exactly bending over backwards to help these people. Israel it had its border closed. It's very reluctantly opened it slightly, let a few basically children through. That's about it. But even Israel don't want it, and they're their next door neighbours. So, nobody cares. Literally nobody cares. And while they're still holding hostages, nobody's going to. It's up to the Gazans. Hand the hostages back and it all stops. Over to you. Anyway, I shall stop there too. Thanks for watching to this one. I'll come up and we'll finish off the video. Now, I suspect my views will be controversial. If you agree with me, say so. If you disagree with me, say so. But I would not allow anyone to abuse my child and get away with it while I negotiated. I would act. And I think most people would. And this is no different. The Gazans have the hostages. Why should they be rewarded with aid until they give the hostages back? Once they give the hostages back, Israel stops its attacks, aid goes in. It's up to them. And at the end of the day, force, naked violence has solved more problems in the world than it's ever created, because it is the way in which nations are brought to heel. It's the way in which trouble is stopped. It's why countries have police forces and why countries have armies. It is the use of force by the state that keeps order. I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit that subscribe button and do make the comment. I'll speak to you later. Bye.